Hi, it's Mark, and this is a short introduction into anti-inflammatory supplements based on the blog post I wrote on the subject recently. I hope you can hear me. This microphone is screwed up somehow. Let's see what happens. So, what is inflammation? Inflammation can be the athlete's worst enemy and anybody's worst enemy, as far as long-term health, especially chronic inflammation. Because there's acute inflammation and chronic inflammation. Acute inflammation can be, good in a way because when there's an injury or something like that, irritation, that's a way of the body to get rid of the problem, it's a part of the healing process, so it's nothing wrong with it. So when you say your elbow is sore and it swells up, then you get also some acute inflammation, which short term is fine. But when you run into problems, it's when you get chronic inflammation. Now, let's see what Wikipedia has to say on the subject. Chronic inflammation, the difference. In acute inflammation, if the injurious agent persists, then chronic inflammation will ensue. This process, marked by inflammation lasting many days, months, or even years, may lead to the formation of a chronic wound. Now, think about that. Chronic inflammation is characterized by the dominating presence of macrophages, whatever that is, in the injured tissue. These cells are powerful defensive agents of the body, but the toxins they release, including reactive oxygen species, are injurious to the organism's own tissues as well as invading agents. So that means it breaks down your own body as well as, the stuff that's not supposed to be there. Consequently, chronic inflammation is almost always accompanied by tissue destructions, Wikipedia. And that can mean, your joints, your muscles can be broken down by chronic inflammation. It gets even worse. It can be chronic joint inflammation, muscle inflammation, or it can be also chronic systemic inflammation, like including your heart and cardiovascular system, which is one of the leading causes of heart disease. So this is also very common in obesity cases. Overweight people. Chronic inflammation is widely observed in obesity. The obese commonly have many elevated markers of inflammation. Wikipedia. So now, what about the muscle inflammation? Chronic inflammation and muscle loss. Both chronic and extreme inflammation are associated with disruptions of anabolic signals initiating muscle growth. Chronic inflammation has been implicated as part of the cause of the muscle loss that occurs with aging. So it even has to do with aging, and it can break down your muscle and stand in the way of muscle growth. This is obviously interesting for athletes because training hard, especially in contact sports like judo, football, soccer, and so on, leads to chronic inflammation as well as lifting weights. So what the flip to do? Fortunately, there's healthy and yet highly effective alternatives to NSAIDs. Now, what are NSAIDs? That's non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs like aspirin, Voltaren, and stuff like that. And the long-term use of those is not recommended. It can lead to leaky gut syndrome and all kinds of stuff. And this is very typical for athletes, because they always have something and they always use this stuff. Plus maybe some amphetamines and things like that. So like the worst combination, then you get leaky gut syndrome, and that's a place you don't want to go. Please trust Mark. So like TIR formula I use. What's that TIR formula? THE. The formula I use is a blend of two very powerful herbs, turmeric and meadowsweet. These are like incredibly powerful herbals. Please make no mistake about it. Just because they're herbals doesn't mean they're not effective. So I take 3 times 3 a day of this blend, and it works like a charm, both as a painkiller and as an anti-inflammatory supplement. Then there's good old iodine, which in my opinion is the king of all supplements, and everybody should use it all the time. Lugol's iodine. And herbals like feverfew and oil of oregano have very powerful anti-inflammatory effect as well. So in summary, it's a really, really good idea to manage inflammation for both health and performance, long-term health for athletes especially, but, for anybody at all. Okay, I hope this helped, and we talk soon.